Hello world, Patricia O'Connor and Frida Reba Darcy here on what is very much a beautiful, picturesque, warm, sunny day in Alameda, California. I'm gonna waddle my butt back here behind this guy, behind this tree. See if I can get settled in here. We were just looking at this tree a couple of days ago. It wasn't but a couple of days ago that I did a, no, it was a week ago that I did a live show about this, my cork bark oak. Hi y'all, I'm Pat O'Connor, and a very perplexed Frida Reba Darcy is watching me from behind camera, wanting to know where she steps into this, how she figures into this. I've got her per diem right here whenever she gets close. What we're looking at is my cork bark oak. I love this tree. We're trying to rebuild it. We've been trying to rebuild it since we got it. A couple of years ago, we finally learned, 2 years ago, we finally learned a few lessons that helped us a lot. And we got going with trying to get more foliage and fill this tree out and to make it look like something more than just a log. And I named the tree Log. I actually named the tree Log. The tree's name is Log. It's not supposed to look like a log. It's supposed to look like an oak tree. In truth, sometimes you see these things in the wild and they look kind of twisted and messed up when they're in the Mediterranean or something, because the rugged areas that they live are conducive for things growing well. But they also can be wind and fire and all that other stuff. So these guys can sometimes look rugged and like they've seen some things and been and have endured through some things, so they're pretty cool looking like that. You can get a really weathered looking cork bark oak. So a couple of years ago, we learned how to properly prune this guy back, and we learned to up our watering game with the tree, and we learned how better to feed it and to feed it. And at that point, the tree began to respond. And I would say a cork bark oak is a fairly easy tree for a beginner to keep alive, more so than some of the other trees, some of the other bonsai trees that are out there. But they're not necessarily easy to ramify. They can prove difficult to ramify at times. You can suffer dieback over several different problems, and then you find yourself starting all over. So I've had to start over. I had to start over last year when I felt like I was making great headway towards making a very uniform foundation branch work for this tree, and then started having the same old problems with powdery mildew. Right now I'm looking at some new leaves that have cuts on them, where I have some kind of leaf cutter on this guy somewhere. I may have to spray a little soap to get rid of them. I'm going to try soap on this guy now and try to back off the neem on this for a minute and see what kind of luck I have with the with spraying it with soap as opposed to the neem that I had always used. And I'll probably still use neem on my other trees. I don't really know that I did anything wrong by using neem on here, but I think I used it at a concentration that was not healthy by accident. I let the water evaporate. All right, enough about that. What are we doing today? Well, more stories. 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I repotted this tree. And I felt then that maybe it had been underpotted a little bit, but I had felt that before I really knew what was up. And in that time, I had, like I said, learned a few things about them, and things were going well. So I thought, let's reevaluate whether or not this thing is in too small, is underpotted, until after we get our new lessons have had a chance to take hold. Let's see how it ramifies, and let's see how it does. Um, Once we start doing the things that we're supposed to do, let's see how the tree responds to that before we go making a decision on another pot. And I would say that I am still probably of the opinion that this tree is underpotted. However, uh, I repotted this tree January 6th, 2 years and 2 months ago. The substrate is nowhere near broken down enough. What I think I do have is I probably have the roots are pressed up against the side of the pot. Maybe not really, really bad, but whenever I water the tree, it's a little hard. It's a little hard to water. The water would rather run off of the tree, would rather run off and over the side than go in. And the remedy to that is this, my scythe. What I would do, and what I'm going to do, is not repot this tree yet. I believe the time to repot this tree was the same time I repotted it when I repotted it 2 years ago. That was in January, was when the season felt about right. Right now, this guy's putting out little white oak flowers all over it, buds that look kind of white and flower-like, like these guys. I think that means that my repotting window is closed. So, and I hadn't planned on repotting this guy, but that if I were, that would tell me that I missed the boat. What will happen is I do think this thing is underpotted, but I also have several questions. What kind of questions? Well, I think I want to change the angle on this tree. I think I would love to change the angle from here something more like this. I also think that if I up-pot it, I might like a lotus-shaped round pot. Okay, so if I put it in a round pot and I change the angle, would I have created a tipping issue for the tree? So before I can decide to repot this tree, I need to also decide to just make a few more decisions about what kind of pot we're going to go into. And then I need to make some decisions about my angle. I haven't made those decisions yet. I'm still kind of iffy about it. I don't feel like it's time necessarily to make those decisions, and I'm kind of holding back. But I do know in a general sense what direction we're taking. In other words, I do know that I have this year to make a decision on what kind of pot this is going into and get it ready. We will get our act together and we will get ready for the end of next winter, early spring. And that's not when the calendar says it's late winter, early spring. It's when the tree says it, based on what's going on here in beautiful Alameda, California. I'm currently picking up all the biogold. I'm going to take this scythe and I'm going to start doing just what you see right there. Before it's over with, I'll probably be pretty dirty. But I'm going to start running this scythe along the inside edge of this pot until I get all the way to the bottom. Until I scrape the bottom of this pot ever so slightly. It is at that point that I will have stopped. I will have moved some roots away that are pressed up against the wall of the pot. Those roots are not allowed to grow anymore. The tree loves when it's growing roots, and that's why when we prune back, we see nothing for a minute, and then we see them take off. They lost some roots, which causes them to do nothing for a second, but then when they start growing roots, they get the action begets action, and we start seeing, you know, a flush of new growth comes with that. So by doing this, by raking this out, I'm giving new roots a place to go. I'm fixing the soil from its issue where it is not percolating like I like. It's too hard to water. I have to water this thing in stages. I soak the topsoil, watch it run over the side before it soaks all the way in. Then I go off and water a few of the trees. Then I swing back around and hit it again, only to do that again maybe a third time before I feel fairly secure that I've gotten it all the way in there and I'm seeing it run out the bottom the way I want to. So whenever I do this, this helps that. This helps us move away from that. This helps the water go down into the pot better. I didn't prepare this. There's one thing I didn't do. Just realize there is one thing I didn't do. What I will also do to finish this up, and that part won't be here, but that I'll show you the end result. I will mix up a small batch of Boon Mix once I've raked this out all the way around. I will mix up a small amount of Boon Mix consisting of lava, akadama, and pumice, and I'll fill that gap that I had created with that. It won't have any roots in it. It'll be something for the new roots to go into when they start trying to expand back from where they had been kind of cut back. And at the same time, it will allow for good drainage. It will allow for that water to do something besides just cascade over the side of the pot, because the tension here is strong enough to where the path of least resistance is over the side of the pot because of the tension in here. So we're going to cut down that tension. There's also another trick. I have one teacher that says to do something, and I have another teacher that talks against that. Doesn't say that. I don't know if it worked. They actually preach against it. I don't know that it's all that, and I don't know that they. I don't know if they're aware. They probably don't watch one another. But that's in taking an ice pick and stabbing the surface. Just go through and just start stabbing it, so that it's kind of like if you were walking around with golf shoes on. You've got all these little puncture holes in there, and all of those puncture holes. The idea is that when you water, the water will go into those, and that will give multiple entry points to your to the top of your substrate, so that you're going to get it down in there better. The counter to that is, from the person who says they're not a big fan of that, is that they say that when you stab the top of the soil with the ice pick, they don't say that it causes the roots any problem, although that's what I would have worried about. They say that you're compressing the soil more on 360 around the hole you've just stabbed. So I think some of both might be true. What you see me doing right now is something that I know that will aid me in my ability to water this tree in the morning, because it is in my mind not a good time for a repot. A good time to repot is if a pot's broken and you're in the you're in the repotting season, or if your substrate has broken down, or you have some issue, you have some underlying issue that, and this is rare. This happens a lot more. People do this because they're panicking more than they actually need to. But the emergency repot. When somebody did a video explaining why emergency repots were almost never emergency repots, but more a matter of somebody not knowing the proper way of dealing with a less than favorable situation. When I saw that video and heard those explanations and heard the alternative to it, I felt like I was getting really good information. I've also nearly lost a very valuable tree, and in the end, I waited until I thought it was too late to save my Japanese black pine to do a repot. The point at which I looked at it and said, Pat, it's more than likely, from the looks of it, it's more than likely already dead. Surely, if you don't do something, it will be. If nothing else, see what killed it. And I went in and saw a root obstruction that had a cause and I saw a smoking gun. I saw where I had done something wrong, and it had caused the amount of water level to raise on the bottom of that pot, and that had killed a very distinct line of about 1 inch of roots in the bottom of that pot. And then that had caused, after I saw that I had done that, I didn't realize that I had already killed the roots. So just saying, hey, don't do that, or hey, get out of there, wasn't enough. We'd already done the damage, and the drainage was already blocked, and the tree was dying from it. And if I wouldn't have went in there, I wouldn't have that tree now. So at once, I do believe pretty much what I was told about most emergency repots are not really truly an emergency, but more a matter of not knowing exactly how to deal with a situation that you're being faced with. It was really a big talk about how to water slower, how to, instead of doing something wrong, deal with it, because it's bonsai and it's not going to be necessarily the easiest thing you've ever done. But the good news is you won't have to do it forever, because repotting season will come around eventually. So that's kind of what, repotting. And when you have an issue, if you have an issue with drainage but your tree looks healthy and you haven't hurt it yet, amend your watering method. Yeah, so that it still gets enough water, and so that it still drains adequately. And what I'm doing here is going to give my spring growth a little bit of room to spring forward, and it is going to help this tree to better take up water when I water it over the next year. And when I'm done with that, we will be set up to take this tree on down to next year, when I do think it would probably be a great time to repot this guy. I don't want to repot it too soon over something that I can compensate for. So that's pretty much got us why I'm raking. I'm just looking here. Why I'm raking these roots out of the side of this pot. It's better if I turn this in and scrape the inside of the pot rather than scrape the inside of the roots. The more I turn it this way, the more I'm raking off roots. And we are here to do that, but we're not here to do it any more than necessary. The issue isn't that it's growing roots. The issue is more that it doesn't have any room to grow anymore. and it's causing us issues with percolation, and I'm catching on something right there. I think that feels harder than an inconsequential. That must be a wire. That must be a piece of wire. Yeah, the slice drops right off to the bottom as soon as I get out of that. So this is what we're gonna do. I would like to know y'all's thoughts on the angle change. Right now the tree is facing me. If you look, you can see that it kind of does this. It's bowing. That's a pretty side, but it's bowing to me when that side faces camera. This is what I had decided was front, based on it's pretty 360, but this is the way that it's bowing to greet. So that's what I'm going. That's what I'm going with being our front, and that's why that could change. In other words, an angle change, it would still be going that way, but we could change the look of that by changing the angle, and I could go this way a whole lot so that the tree would go this way and that way, two different directions. That would take a little bit of its less log look, but then what I'd be able, I think if I had, then I would probably have the head over the lip of the pot, and if it was a round pot, I think that would be risky. So, you know, you can hear it, you can kind of hear where I'm at. That's why I haven't plunked down. I don't have a lot of trees this big, so if I plunk down, I'd kind of like to know it's going to be a pretty good chance that, you know, you can get on repotting day and say, yeah, that wasn't what I pictured at all. Next, you know, that could happen. I could live if that happened, but I need to at least have a pretty good shot at knowing I'm going to use something. I'm going to be able to properly make use of something before I commit to it. They're pricey. They're pricey, and I don't want to. I don't want to waste good materials. I don't want to waste something that somebody else would have been able to better use, because I came along and thought I wanted this, only to have it sitting on my back shelf back there. You'll see bonsai places, and they'll have stacks of beautiful pots. I am envious of that, and I also don't want that much stuff that I have to keep up with. It's kind of like the beauty and where I am. It would be nice to have a beautiful pot collection, I suppose. I have a few more pots right now. I have enough pots right now where I can repot 3 or 4 more little pines without having a lot of trouble. Or I can repot a few little things in some pretty little glazed pots if the need arises. But as far as having, you know, a big shelf full of bowls, I'll have a shop. When I have that, it'll be when I have a shop, and I'm kind of enjoying the idea of being a little scaled down right now. I don't know that I would have a shop, but never say never. Never say never. Easy on that never. All right, you know what? I am the part where I put the substrate in here. The part where I put the substrate in here, the Boon mix that I said I would do off camera, I lied. I didn't really lie. I just changed my mind. We are going to call what we've done right here, because I've still got a little bit of cleanup before I move past here, and there's still so much that I want to do. That's a 2-parter. This is part 1. Thank you so much for watching part 1 of our sunny, beautiful day in Alameda, when I am raking out the substrate from the inside edge of our bonsai pot, which will help it to percolate its soil, percolate its water better. It will add to its ability to take in water. Like I just said, it'll give the roots a little bit of room to grow, and they would be happy with that. A little bit of light pruning won't kill us at this stage of the game. And then when I come back for part 2, I will have a little bit of boon mixed in. We will clean up our corners a little bit, probably off camera, and then 5 minutes. And then what you'll see is me picking back up with our boon mix, filling in our corners with some substrate that will more adequately take in water, and that will help this guy to percolate better, help us water this guy better, and give those roots that we just kind of raked back a little bit some room to grow. They should really be happy with that. And this is time to where we're starting to show some nice little spring stuff on this guy. The coastal oak as well is starting to show some like little oak flowers blooming all about it. So I'm going to do something different this year. I'm not going to prune. I'm going to try not to prune my coastal oak until fall. Whatever it does, no matter how long, if they're hanging out off the balcony, we're going to let the bases of those get thick and feed the foundation stuff that we started growing last year. We're going to allow that stuff to bulk out, because some of the stuff that it bifurcates off, we're going to allow to grow long. I think that's me interpreting my lessons correctly. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Our next post will be we'll start in a little while, whenever I start part 2 of cleaning up the base of our cork bark oak and aiding our percolation. I appreciate you. Frida, Reba, Darcy, appreciate you, and thank you so much for watching.